Hey, do you want to build a stronger family, create a better life? Well, that's what Divorce with Heart is all about. It's a show where I guide you along your divorce and co-parenting journey using the heart's wisdom, intuition, and legal expertise. So sit back, take a deep breath, relax. My name is Gina DiPrima. Let's get started. Hello. Thank you for joining me. This is Gina DiPrima, and we are here for another episode of Divorce with Heart and Conscious Co-Parenting. I think we're up to now episode, I want to say 33, I think is the episode number. And today I want to talk to you all about this idea of vision and having choices in how we show up in the world, and your ability, your innate ability to really change the direction of your life and what you're experiencing as your life, even during the most difficult, challenging times, which is often exactly what divorce brings, what heartbreak brings, breakups, co-parenting challenges, everything that we address here on this show. And, I really think it's the perfect time of year for it, because if you listen to these episodes as they're released, then this episode is likely coming to you on New Year's Eve. And in fact, I'm recording today. It's December 26th. So day after Christmas, which is a big one for many people. But regardless, it's the holiday season. It's the end of the year. It's that time when, a lot of people take an opportunity, whether it's, as small as 5 minutes or 5 seconds or a little longer, to reflect on their life, their last year, and where they want to go in 2019 and what they want to experience in 2019. So that's really what I want to kind of focus here on today, and really narrowing it down to the fact that you do have choices. You have choices in what you experience and how you show up and how you relate to the world and the people around you. And with that choice comes great responsibility, obviously. But one thing that can really help you is this idea of having a vision and using your vision as sort of a map of where you're going to go and what you want to create in your life, specifically here for 2019 coming up. So that's what we're going to talk about. And, I just want to say thank you again, as always, for being here, for listening to this show, for leaving your comments and reviews in iTunes. It really just means so much to me to receive that, because it's what lets me know that, you're out there and what I'm saying is resonating, that it's making sense, and that it's helping you. And it also lets me know kind of what directions I should go in here and how I can be of greater service to you. So keep that going if you would. If you haven't already, please jump onto iTunes and leave a rating. If you're not part of the Facebook group, Divorce with Heart, go ahead and check that out. It's not a secret group, but it is a private group. And that's where we can focus on continuing the conversation here, where you can ask questions that I'll then make an effort to answer on air, and where you can get additional support on these ideas and how to really experience divorce and co-parenting challenges from a different perspective, from a perspective that's more healing and positive, and from a place that's going to promote a better life for you and a better life for your children and your family as a whole. So do that if you could, and be sure to subscribe so you get all of the new episodes as they're released. And one last thing I'd ask is that if you haven't already jumped on the mailing list, do that too, because there's a lot of changes that I'm going to be bringing forward here in 2019. And it's going to be communicated here, but the details are more likely to be on email. So definitely get on the mailing list. You can do that easily by going to the Inflow Radio website and navigating over to the show's page, Divorce with Heart. And there's a real easy setup there. You just click the button, get on the mailing list, and there's a free gift for you. Okay? So you definitely want to be sure to do that as well. So let's just dive in now to this topic and looking at divorce or heartbreak, these big breakups in relationships as this opportunity for you to create something better, although I don't know how I feel about the word better, but just to create something different and better, I guess, to shift how things are in your life and to make it something that is more productive and helpful instead of something that is just bringing you down all the time. And some people, I think when I talk about divorce and using it as an opportunity to heal, it immediately invokes sort of a response like, what do you mean heal? I don't need to heal. There's no thing of healing. And I sort of understand where that's coming from, but I want to back it up a little. And the reason why I'm saying healing and using it as an opportunity to heal is because, when you are feeling angry, when you are feeling jealous, when you are feeling resentment, when you are feeling confused, overwhelmed, stressed out, when you're feeling like you just can't win, when you're feeling like you just kind of want to, and maybe it's not conscious in terms of wanting, but where so much of your life and your interactions are kind of centered around arguments and tension and hostility. If that's what's showing up for you, then you don't have to call it healing, but the reality is something's broken, right? Something's not working if that's what you're experiencing right now. And so if something's broken, then it needs to be healed. And my point when I'm saying this is that, if you're feeling this way, it's because no matter how much you want to deny it, it's your heart that is broken. It is your emotional body that is broken. It is your concepts that you have built up in your mind and in your heart and how you've lived your life, from the past to where you are now that are, discombobulated, just confused, thrown off track, broken. And so when things happen like that and throw us off, and then you're feeling all of this anger and pain and sadness and grief, it's because something is broken. And it's in that moment that you have a choice, right? Because it's in that moment that you can choose to do something about it, which is what I call healing, or don't do anything. And it's the same if anything else was broken in your life, right? But for some reason, it's a lot easier for us to see it and draw the correlation when it's something like a broken bone, right? Think about it. You go out, maybe you're running and you twist your ankle, break your ankle, something like that. Well, it's easy to see then, right? Something is broken. Something is causing you in that moment to feel intense levels of physical pain, emotional pain, stress. You start worrying about, how am I going to make it to work? How am I going to make it to my doctor's appointments? How am I going to afford what needs to happen? And so on and so forth. But it's easy to see that something's broken because you can go to the doctor, you can get an x-ray and it says, yep, your ankle's broken, right? So now you have two choices. Are you going to do something about it or just keep living your life the way you were? And in those instances, it's easy to see, right? It's like a foregone conclusion. The answer is there. There's hardly a question. 99.999% of everybody listening would agree you're going to do something about it. Even just going to the doctor and getting an x-ray means you're doing something about it. You're doing something. You're taking steps to fix your broken ankle. You're going to get an x-ray. You're going to get your medication. You're going to follow what the doctor orders. If you have to wear a cast, you'll wear a cast. But you're going to probably, most likely, I would say, follow through and do everything you need to do to get that ankle and get that bone fixed so that you can go on with your life living your day to day. right? And you probably wouldn't even think twice about it. But the reality is you're healing. You're taking an active part in your process of healing. Something was broken and you're responding to it. And that's a choice. If you don't do that and you do nothing, right? Because either you're going to heal what's broken or you're not. So let's just go down the other road. Say you do nothing. Say you break your ankle, you do nothing. You ignore it. You ignore it. Well, this stinks, right? This hurts. It hurts every day. I'm waking up every day. It hurts. I can't even walk down the stairs without pain. I can't go to work without pain. Driving is a nightmare, but you're mustering through and you're doing it anyways. And it's a struggle. It's a daily struggle, just like healing can be. Healing is not always, nice and rainbows and unicorns and fluffy and pretty. Definitely not. It's a struggle too. There's challenges regardless of which road you choose. But if you do nothing and you let this bone continue in the state that it is in, broken, and you just push through your life, what do you think is going to be your experience? What do you think? I mean, I don't know. It's nothing I've ever done. Every time I've ever had any kind of illness or broken bone, I know I've made the choice to fix it. And that's what I'm suggesting, that emotional wounds, even psychological wounds, everything, that's what comes up when you are experiencing an intense breakup, a divorce, a separation, right? And the aftermath of that, when you're trying to co-parent, that's all because there was healing that needed to be done and didn't get done. And instead of choosing to take steps like go to the doctor when you break your ankle, you may have taken a step to go to a lawyer to wrap things up legally. Of course, that's necessary, and most people do see that as maybe an obvious choice. But what are you doing to wrap things up internally? What are you doing to kind of deal with the emotional, internal wounds, the cuts, right? The breaks, what's broken? That's what I'm talking about. So you see, I see it as a choice, but it should be just as obvious as when you break a bone. You're either going to heal or you're not. And if you choose to heal, that's going to mean a lot of active participation on your part, things that you're going to have to be doing in order to create a different experience. If you choose not to, then the same with the broken bone and your broken ankle, things are going to get worse. Things will get worse. Things will definitely get worse. In fact, unfortunately, I had an experience where I met somebody recently and no fault of her own, really. She wanted to heal. She did break a bone in her leg and she wanted to heal. Of course she did. She knew something was wrong. She went to every doctor imaginable. Problem is she kept getting misdiagnosed. Nobody ever saw the broken bone. So if you can imagine what happened, you fast forward several months later, she went from a woman that was walking to a woman being in a wheelchair and intense levels of pain. A lot of other things came from this. It was no longer just a broken bone. I can't recall all the details, but a lot of other diagnoses followed, right? That stemmed from the fact that she then lived all this time with a broken bone and her leg was basically completely deformed, completely curved. So that's the point, right? In all of this. If you do nothing and you keep on living the way you've been living, then what you're experiencing will continue and it will most likely get worse, right? Or you can take a step back and look at it as a choice and say, I don't want this. I'm done with this. 2018, it's here. It came, it went, it's almost gone, right? I'm ready to start the new year. And I'm sick of fighting. You can look at it like that and say, I'm sick of this, right? I want to show up and I want to be different and I want to do different. And I know that my marriage is ending or my relationship is ending, or maybe it just did. But when you're going back and you're reflecting on everything, don't just, see it for what it is and get upset. Of course, that will happen. That's a natural part of reflection. As you see it, you become aware of it. It's going to invoke a response from you, an emotional response. But then take the next step too. Okay, this is what happened. This is how I responded when I knew what I knew then. But now I'm learning new things. I'm listening to this podcast. I'm learning that, I can create things to be different. that if I show up differently, if I respond differently. So why don't I just make that choice to be different? All right. So that's just one of these ideas here when I'm talking about choice. Now let me give you another example. Okay. Well, now, before I get into that, let me back up. I'm trying to look at my notes here that are written really poorly. But let me say this, okay? Some people, most people, think that when they're in this sort of sea of emotional pain, this point of stress and heartache, and, oh, no, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. I just need him out of my house. Everything will be fine. I just need to be divorced already. Everything will be fine. I just need this done already. Everything will be fine. So I can just move on. Because if I can just move on, then everything will be fine. If I can just get rid of him, everything will be fine. Right? And I want to say to you that I wish it were that simple and I wish it were that easy, but relationships are really never that simple and never that easy. So even if you get him out of your house, is everything really going to be fine? No, most likely not. Everything is only going to be fine if you show up differently and make those choices to be a different person and stop playing out the role that you've been playing that got you to where you are now, which is that point of contention, which is that point of arguing over every little thing, that point of badgering, that point of, just the ill looks, that negative energy, the vibe that comes over you and probably the other person every time you think of each other or get in the same room or have to exchange the kids. All that will continue, right? So just because one little circumstance might change, you get back your judgment of divorce, yay, you're divorced, or you get the green light that you can move out or he's moving out, yay. That's just one little thing. But if to think that everything's going to be fine now, I want to suggest to you very strongly that that is a mistake, because underlying that whole thought is this idea, again, that time heals all wounds, right? And time is great. Time is great. I would never say that time has nothing to do with it. It does, because things get better in time if you're putting forth the effort to make things better. Okay. But if you just do nothing, then I would say to you, no, time does not heal all wounds, because you are still going to continue to show up with that energy of hurt, that energy of upset, that energy of being betrayed, of being let down, of being screwed, of being, maybe feeling not good enough. And every time you keep bringing that into your situation or your dealings with your ex, right? It's just going to keep on regurgitating itself. You're going to mirror off each other. This is what brings us down that rabbit hole of constant arguing, right? Because then you're going to feel like, well, he said this and he did that, and you're getting triggered and you're responding. But the reality is that whatever he's doing, you can look at that as a trigger, but you have control over the response. And if you don't see it that way, then it's like you're a monkey on strings. Then and you're giving him all of the power to dictate how you're going to be and the energy you're going to have and the quality of the life that you're going to live. So what I'm saying is you can make a conscious decision and a conscious choice to no longer be triggered. But if you can't get there, then before you know it, his actions, her actions, the things that really irritate you and piss you off and trigger you, you get triggered, you show up with a certain responsive energy and vibe, and you say things and do things that in turn trigger him or her. And before you know it, everybody's triggered, right? His feelings are yours are his. Everything becomes one, and it becomes this big mess of toxic emotions where no peace can be had, no joy can be had, no healing can be had, because it's one person feeding off of the other, right? And so to think that time alone is going to help that, it won't. You have to make the choice, just like when you break your bone, to take the steps to get in there and look at the emotional wounds, look at your heart, look at where it's broken. And overcome that and heal that. And that is well within your power and ability to do that. And one of the tools that I feel is really necessary then is having the proper vision, right? And when I'm talking about vision, I'm talking about something even greater than intention. I am really talking about, how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself in relationship with your ex in 2019, right? Say you just got a divorce. You just got it. You were one of the quote unquote lucky ones who was able to get the judge to sign your divorce before January 1st of this year. And I'm saying lucky one because we've talked about it in the past, how the legislation is changing with regard to spousal support and maintenance payments beginning January 1st of 2019, where spousal support and maintenance payments aren't going to be tax deductible anymore to the payer and taxable to the payee. So, that change and that tax impacting of those payments is huge for a lot of people. So that's why I'm saying lucky ones if you were able to get it signed and done before this new legislation takes effect. Anyways, it's a little side note for you, a little reminder. Okay. So you've got that judgment of divorce. You're done. But now you're going to co-parent with this person. You've got 3 little kids. Well, who are you going to be in that relationship? What's your vision? What do you really want? I'd bet all the money in the world that when you went in and you talked to your lawyer, or you talked to your friends, or you talked to the people that, mean something to you, that you're probably said before, and you probably have said it more than once, that you just want to do what's best for the kids. You just want your kids to be happy. I guarantee you've said that. I always hear that from everybody. So what does that mean, though? But what does that mean on the day-to-day? That's what I'm talking about in vision, right? I want you to really think about it. Don't just fall under this idea of, I just want to do what's best for my kids. Break it down. Break it down. What is that going to mean under this new shared parenting schedule that you came up with, that you may have agreed to, or maybe the judge forced upon you? What is that going to mean? How are you going to show up at the exchanges? How are you going to show up to, Sally's chorus concert, or Jonathan's band concert? What are you going to do on the sidelines when you're at the soccer game, right? What are you going to do when, your ex wants to take the kids on vacation and it interferes with your time by a day or two? These are things that come up in the day-to-day. And if you have proper vision and you can be grounded in the kind of parent that you want to be in 2019, and if that's too big for you, then back it up to just January. Then go to February and March, okay? Because I want you to have a vision that you can actually write down with as much detail as possible, then summarize it into a sentence or two and use it as a benchmark or a roadmap for all of your decisions to come. And that is you exercising that powerful, powerful choice that you have to heal your emotional heart and to heal your life and to make it better. So think about it like that. Don't just say, I want what's best. Who are you going to be? How are you going to show up? How are you going to relate to your ex? What are you going to do if you are getting nasty text messages and emails? Okay, that's what I'm talking about, vision. See if you can really challenge yourself to sit down and write it out in as much detail as you can. Like you're writing the script of your life, or you are casting yourself as a leading role, but your leading role is no longer going to be the role of, your character is no longer going to be hurt, right? Your character is no longer going to be overwhelmed with anger. Your character is no longer going to want to be just getting the last word and winning the fight or winning the argument. Instead, your character has a new goal, right? And what does it look like? If your goal is, I want peace, I really want my kids to be happy. I don't want my kids to feel uncomfortable when I'm around their father, okay? I want to bring peace and and love back into my life, and as a result, into my children's life, so they're not grown up in the middle of chaos and arguments, then what does that look like? And then from there, that's going to really help you and craft the way that you address things that will come up for you. I had an experience recently where I can tell you, really pulled on me and made me really aware again of what is my vision and how am I showing up and what can I do differently, right, to correct what's going on. And just real quick, because I think we're getting out of time here. Part of my vision, and when I come to you every week or every other week, is to bring this idea of healing and love and peace back into relationships, back into the arena of the brokenhearted, and to help people to really improve their lives, right? And recently I had an experience where it really pulled on that for me. And this is going to happen to you too. So that's why I'm going to share it real quick. I had this experience where I was relating with somebody who was really just downright mean, right? Downright mean, just constantly sending me email after email loaded with hostility and blame and insults and ridicule and criticism and, anything that could be said to kind of show that, that he was, superior to me. And so the energy that was being created was, of course, of hostility, of fighting, of wanting to argue. And, that for a long time for me was part of my energy all the time. I mean, that's what brought me here, I think, to even being a lawyer. It's wanting to win. It's wanting to fight. It was wanting to one-up somebody, right? That's kind of this old energy. And almost like a sort of a automatic default for me at times. But that's what happened, right? So I'm getting triggered by all of this hostility and forgetting what my bigger vision is in this life and in what I stand for. I started to respond in kind, right? So I had to have the last word. I had to be right. I had to be the one that knew more and was doing better and was more, just better, right? And this is what happens for you too out there. This is what happens between couples when they're arguing all the time. It gets into this energy of being right, one-upping the other. And you almost sometimes can even forget what it's all about, right? It's just that it's just the energy that surrounds the argument, right? So I had to take a step back and realize, I was getting so upset, constantly looking at my phone, constantly wanting to see what was said, saying to myself, no matter what is said, I'm not going to respond, but responding anyway, right? And I know you guys do this. I know you do it too, because this is how arguments happen and how they're fed and how they continue and how they blow up into things that are even bigger, right? So I had to take a step back and realize what I was doing. What am I doing here? How am I feeling? Well, I was feeling angry. I was feeling like I just wanted to fight. I just wanted to be right. I was feeling tightness in my chest, feeling my blood pressure rise. I'm feeling stressed. I'm like, whoa, what the heck is this? This is not how I want to live my life. This is not what I want to experience. This is not what I want to feel. No, I'm about creating feelings of peace and ease and harmony. That's how I want to live my life, right? And so in that moment, I looked at, well, what did I do? How did I contribute to what is being created? And that's when I saw it. As much as I would love to point the finger at the other person, say it's all his fault, he's a no good SOB, jerk, blah, 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 which is I'm sure what happens to you, no matter how much you want to point the finger at the other person, the reality is that you are part of the dynamic. And as long as you're part of that dynamic, you are a contributing factor. And as a contributing factor, you're doing things just like I was doing things to lead to what was being created in that relationship, which was a lot of anger and hostility, right? And then I had to remind myself, what the hell, Gina? This is not your vision. And luckily I have a vision and I know what it is. And it's very, very clear to me. And because I have that vision, that's what really allowed me to stop and say, this isn't right. So how can I correct this so I can align myself, get myself back on track to what I really want to create in life and move forward and grow from this experience? And that's why vision is important. So when you're taking the time here to wrap up 2018, you're thinking about 2019, I want you to spend some time, please, and think about who you're going to be. How are you going to show up in this relationship with your ex? Or maybe he's about to be your ex, but regardless, he's the other parent, right? Or she's the other parent. How are you going to show up? How are you going to show up when you're single? What is important to you? What are these values? Do you want peace? Do you want joy? Do you want happiness? Right? How do you want to feel and go from there? And that is going to formulate your vision. And I would love, love, love if you could share with me some of your ideas and what you're coming up with. So best way to do that is in the Facebook group, Divorce with Heart. You can share it there. If you want to keep yourself more anonymous, then go ahead and send me a private message on Facebook. I'd love to hear what you're coming up with. If I can be of any further guidance, I'm going to do that for you. So reach out to me, Peace starts with one person. So don't hold yourself back because you feel like, well, he's such a jerk. All right. That doesn't matter. What matters at the end of the day is who you are, how you're showing up, how you're living your life, the examples you're setting for your children, and the energy that you're creating in your life, in your body, and around you for your family, right? That's what matters. So keep that focus on yourself. Understand that you have the power here to change what you're experiencing, and see if you can't just boil that down to a real clear vision to carry you through, 2019. And again, start with just January. That seems too big. Start there. Start with January, okay? I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope that this was helpful to you. I'll be super excited to hear from you. So please, reach me on Facebook. Let's communicate. I want to see what you see. I want to support you and I want to hold that space for you because I know that you can do this. I know in my heart that divorce and heartbreak is here, and it's here in your life to shift things for you, to change things for you. And it's not all a bad thing, right? You can make it something positive and you can experience the life that you're meant to live. A life that's happy, a life that has peace, a life where you're laughing and smiling and relating well with your other parent, right? It's all within your power and it's all within your reach. So let's start with that vision. Start with the vision. So thank you again, and happy 2019. And reach me on Facebook. Have a great week. Thank you so much for joining me today. Come back next week and be sure to visit my website at dpremalaw.com to book a call, or let's connect on Facebook at dpremalaw, where you can join my group for more support. Please remember that the information shared is for general and entertainment purposes only, and that by calling in or messaging me, we are not creating an attorney-client relationship, and my advice is not intended to be legal advice. For specific legal advice, please contact a lawyer in your jurisdiction.
This show is brought to you by inflowradio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.